What makes total strangers pull off an elaborate bank heist? Are you familiar with the concept of hypnotics?
Hypnotics.
Hello, I'm Robert Rodriguez, and today I'm hosted by legendary director, writer, producer of many of Texas's finest films, Robert Rodriguez. Robert, thank you so much for hosting us today at Troublemaker Studios.
Absolutely. It's good to have a tocayo here.
Yeah. So we're here talking mostly Hypnotic. Can you tell us a little bit about how that story came to be and your inspiration behind it?
Oh, I was making, I think, a Spy Kids 2 at the time and was watching a lot of Hitchcock movies. So I thought, I'd like to go back and do another Hitchcock type movie. Like El Mariachi is kind of like a wrong man type movie that Hitchcock would do. So I thought something that's a thriller, it's got a one-word title, Hypnotic, and I kind of came up with the idea pretty quickly and always wanted to shoot it here in Austin. And over time, Austin just grew into this metropolis. I mean, it looks so different than it did when I was first making movies here. It's a whole different look and city. It looks like a big, big city. So it's been great to be able to shoot here and keep everything in Texas and see, you know, as it grows and changes, new looks and feels for my movies. You can make any kind of movie here, from a Spy Kids to a Sin City to a thriller in the streets like Hypnotic. And because of the crew base and the talent that's here and the creativity, for me, is always home. I try to tell filmmakers, hey, wherever you're from, try to build a film community around you where you are. That's what Rick and I did way back in the day, and it's grown so much. You take a lot of pride in it. Everyone gets to work on the projects together. It's a beautiful thing.
I love that. Speaking of just hometown and keeping it here, you repurposed the Alita Battle Angel set for some of the scenes. Can you talk about how it felt to be back on that set?
Oh, to be back on the Alita set, it's just amazing. I mean, to be able to walk out even Jim Cameron was like, I'm a little jealous that you can just walk right out of your office and you're in Iron City. My sets are never that close to my office. But I make stuff to reuse it. I mean, I'm from a family of 10 kids. I can't help but be resourceful. So we keep so much of our old sets and props and reutilize them and revitalize them for different movies. We keep all our costume stock. And so to have a whole city that could double for Mexico, I've used it several times in other projects. Anytime we need a shot that would require going somewhere else, we can just pop back there. That's why we built it to kind of last.
So at the heart of this story, it's about family and love, right? Detective Danny Rourke's main motivation is searching for his daughter. Throughout your career, you've worked with your own family. Can you talk about how family is a driving motivator for you as well?
Yeah, I mean, it was just always something I did from my very first home movies that I made. They all featured my little brothers and sisters because they were just there at the house and I didn't have access to actors. And our first short films would win contests. They were kind of precursors to Spy Kids. As my kids were growing up, they just were always in those films because they were children's films. So we needed stunt kids and we needed, extra actors. They were great at it when they were little. I mean, they were writing and coming up with ideas and seeing the result. But, teenage years, you figured they'd move on. But, and they did. They found some other interests. But around the mid-teens to late teens, I was making a precursor to Hypnotic called Red 11. It was my $7,000 Today movie. So I had them work on it with me. And they were just so excited I thought they would be bored. They were so excited seeing how everything was just kept falling apart. And by the end of the day, we'd figure out a solution that was better. And they would be so jazzed by that. And I realized, they're gonna really love this then. If they like that, that's day in and day out. They think today is special, this is every day. And they really got into it. And they could say, we can see why you like doing this. It's super challenging. Nothing ever goes right. But you're so proud of yourself when you figure out an even better solution at the end of the day if you don't lose your cool. And so now they're just become my key collaborators. Rebel composed a score for We Can Be Heroes, a big orchestral, Hypnotic, and now the new Spy Kids. Racer's my co-writer and co-producer, wrote Spy Kids with me, We Can Be Heroes. He was on set with me every day on Hypnotic, So it's just great having all of them doing something. My third son is doing computer graphics on game engines to do all my storyboards and designing the sets. He designed the really big sets because he does game design. So my sets now look like what you would find in a game world because that's his aesthetic. Really fun.
Yeah, well, you create just incredible worlds, right? From Alita Battle Angel
Yeah.
to We Can Be Heroes, which is now number 6 most popular show on Netflix of
Yeah,
all time.
yeah.
Incredible. Can you talk about, I guess, about creating these worlds and the production design that goes behind them?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times I just use my green screen, and if I had to shoot a movie very quickly, I would do like high-tech guerrilla filmmaking, which where I would draw each shot as I was doing it. So I wasn't sure exactly what the framing would be till I get the actors here, do a sketch, and then just film them and then paint in the backgrounds later. But on Heroes, you know, my son Rogue was able to create some sets that were just so massive. We had to figure out how to shoot them on the green screen. So you couldn't do it on the fly like I could back then. And having him here was great. And his imagination was really awesome.
Yeah, well, whether it be family or just other collaborators, you've really built an incredible team around you and an incredible space here, Troublemaker Studios.
Thanks. Yeah, well, it's fun about it. People come to the studio, they get blown away when they see that this is where we shot Sin City, everything right here in this little circle. Because by the time I brought in my lighting, that's about all the room we had. That the whole thing was shot right here, and that all the Spy Kids were shot here, and we captured some Alita stuff in here. And it's just an empty box. It's like an empty shoebox. But what makes it magical is that all the creativity that's been poured in here, how many sets we've built here, how many actors have been here. Everyone from Robert De Niro to, you know, Antonio Banderas to Salma Hayek, they've all been here, standing right here. And it seeps into the walls, like the walls remember. So the history of this place and the projects that have been done are what make it more than a box.
Yeah, place with a heartbeat.
Yeah, it does.
So the series is called Made in Texas, and you've filmed most of your features here. Can you talk about what keeps you championing the state?
There's a secret to being home, and that's that you're around what inspires you, your family, your community. And I didn't even want to be a filmmaker if it meant moving to LA. So I thought I would just stay here and make local commercials or whatever to satisfy that itch and be a cartoonist. And when I found that I could make like El Mariachi out of my apartment and sell it to Hollywood, I thought, I bet they wouldn't even know I'm here. And George Lucas told me this later. It wasn't even for that reason, but he told me the benefit. He said, it's so good you're in Austin, because when you live outside of the box, you're going to think outside of the box automatically. You're just going to stumble upon innovations because you're away from the tradition. We were doing the first digital 3D movies anywhere.
Yeah.
First green screen, first digital camera work was being done here. So they ended up being more experienced than crews even in Los Angeles. So because I was making innovative movies because I felt like I could, because I didn't have anyone watching me. So there was a real benefit to keeping stuff here. And besides the ripple effects of building the community up, everybody learned jobs they wouldn't have normally learned, and they could go start their own businesses using these skills. So it's created a huge change in the landscape by having movies done here, these kind of movies.
Well, I love hearing all that. I think
Yeah.
that's all I have for you, though.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for hosting us here today.
Sure, absolutely.
Incredible.
Always welcome. Good stuff. People are always asking me if I can shoot something for someone. No, I can't, but I could send another Robert Rodriguez. He can do it for you. He's really good. I still have the same name and everything.